Hi students, welcome to the new session. So far we are discussing these methods of psychological inquiry, and we have covered two sessions so far, and a few students requested me for an example or a how we can use these things like goals and steps in research. Today we'll try to see a new topic like alternative paradigms in research and have an overall understanding of how this research takes place in simple way and try to work on an example. Okay, first let's start with the session. Okay, one second. So I'll share you. So yes, to be I'm been using some public resources and completely for the education purpose. So there is no another way of profitable way or trying to use the material. And let's start with another example. Like as I said, let's recall the steps we have discussed. Like we will see like see. So goals of the so far in the first session, like after the introduction, we see this is the day, like these are the steps, like description of a problem or a prediction. Like we will start with the research. When you start with the research, you will have something to study. You want to find something, right? So here when the when you take a problem, you have to describe the problem. It is like a statement. So then you will be explaining it. You will have a control of behavior, like conducting a research which using some methods, and then by generating the results you will be knowing how it has the behavior of the particular experiment, how the experiment has gone, what are the results you got. You will be analyzing all these things. So even after that, this is the goals of psychology inquiry, and these are the points to be kept in mind while conducting an inquiry, investigation, or a research. And next to that, in the next session, we have seen steps of conducting research. So in that, particularly the characteristics of this research is objective, systematic, and testable manner. The whole session we explained in the previous session. But what are the steps involved in it? It includes four steps. That is collection of data, conceptualizing the problem. Second one is collecting data, using methods, topic for study, using statistical methods. There is a correlation, p-values, different methods of statistics or analyzing the data. It is for the analysis of data. And then view after conducting the research, what are the results you got, and then based on that, topic of study has to be examined, whether it is true or false, whether the variables are significant or insignificant. All these things will be held. Let us see an example and understand these steps. Okay. So I think I have to. So, so here is the one we taken. The topic is like a study on the study habits of academic performance. Even we are dealing with this example. Let us see what uh, the research has to say. It is like an introduction, like abstract is the overall gist of the research. Study habits contribute significantly in the here. The overall research is based on study habits of the students. There are some factors like we will see in the variable section. So what happens in the research is like you will have a gist of the when the results showed that like the topic, what is the topic, how we went to, what is the sample, all these things will be discussed in the abstract. Particularly this is the standard method by APA, which is the standard research procedure for any it is American Psychologists Association. And we'll follow some rules. Those we'll be discussing in the later on. And here it is like discussing like what are the steps involved. Let us see. This is the sample study I have taken. So like this is not the standard procedure, but this is one type of procedure we follow. Okay, and there will be an introduction, like we have selected a topic of study, that is study habits and academic performance of the student. Okay, and even in the introduction they will deal with the okay, they will deal with the history so far, what are the researchers has contributed in, like from 2010 she has in a chronological way, the researcher arranged the data, what are all the things happened, everyday reading habits, academic achievement, environment, parent and relationship. There are a lot of factors. Okay, so for what has gone in the study habits, related to study habits, she has collected the literature. This is also called as review of literature. After that she will be having a method, like how the sample 10,000 students in a population, she divided 5,000 and 5,000 males and 5,000 females, and she which method she used, she used a questionnaire method, like there will be like Likert scales, graphical representation scale, uh, there are different scales will be there. Those also will be discussed in the later on session. She has taken a questionnaire. Here the variables are, as I said, there will be variables of extraneous variables, independent variable, dependent variable. These will be discussed, understood in the next coming sessions. So the variables are gender, age, area, and area is rural and urban. Medium of study English and Urdu. Age, there are different categories. Gender also two categories. She defined male and female, and samples, like she took 250 and 250 samples. Okay, and she has administered a questionnaire of some few questions, like I was my assignment on time, anxiety, the environmental conditions, uh, the work time the students take. All these things were taken into consideration, the questionnaire, and then she examined the particularly, as we taken the topic into study, we will be frame a hypothesis, like a negative hypothesis and a positive hypothesis. Positive hypothesis, we state the statement as there is a significant relationship between the variables, and negative hypothesis can be there is no relationship between the variables. Likewise, even after getting the results, like as I said, after using the statistical methods, like gender and stress, area and family background, gender and thinking, late night study habits, coming late to the class, there are different conclusions where like relationships are drawn between the variables, and the relationship is studied. The p value decides the factor whether the relationship is significant or not. The negative values give you the no relationship, where the significant relationship is like -1 to 1, there will be values, and the two conclusions are drawn in that one, like there is a relationship between the study habits and the academic achievement here. And particularly coming to the statement, the overall statement, study habits and academic achievement, the p value is lies between uh, that, and it has significant relationship between the particular taken variables. So this is how, and by the end of the research they will be giving you references at that review of literature, what has all they studied and used in this process. You can see during the introduction they made the points like this, taking some consider, and the procedure, how did they, and even they will give the questionnaire at the end of the appendix. All this thing, this is how there will be an introduction, like if you can recall, this is how the research and the results are. And yes, The researcher has followed a statement, topic has selected, she used a questionnaire and conducted the study. After using the statistics and the tables which we saw, and this is how the results are, whether there is a relationship or not based on the p-value. And there can be different statistical methods you will be understanding in the other areas where, and even in psychology we will be understanding the SPSS, we will statistical procedure of social sciences. So and we will also learn how to do a research and study and analyze the data which we have collected. And this is the basic example so far. And let's move on to the next topic, that is alternative paradigms of research. Okay, so today's topic, alternative paradigms of research. And what is a paradigm? It is a typical example or pattern of something, a pattern or model. Okay, it is like as a psychology, it deals with the complex behavior of human being. It is really difficult to understand the behavior, and but only one or two methods are not enough to understand human behavior. So we will use different methods, and the approach can be varied. At the standard method which we discussed in the example and the study is one type, and there can be other ways possible, like in psychology we use experimental and non-experimental methods, participant and non-participative methods. There are a lot and a few importance we will be studying in this unit. And yes, what is the other way of approach for studying and conducting the research? So, here is the one, we'll try to understand this topic, alternative paradigm. What is that method or a study? So psychologists suggest a human behavior can and should be studied following the methods adopted by science like physics, chemistry, and biology. As we are dealing with experimental tradition, like proving science, psychology as a science, we have to follow some methods. Like as any other science like physics, chemistry, and biology, we have to also follow and adopt such methods so that we can study them scientifically like other sciences. Okay, and make it psychology as a scientific standard. And to use that, we may not have control over everything, but like we will try to understand what are all in our hands, what can be studied with by using these methods. So let us understand that the key assumption of this point of view is that human behavior is predictable, caused by internal and external forces. As we are discussing in the earlier session, also psychology as a natural science and social science, and even behavior is internal and external. So everything cannot be examined, and it is difficult. It is not like completely not understandable or examinable, but we we take some standards which are possible in this time. Like previously, if you can take 17th, 18th, 19th century, the experimental tradition is really mechanical. Now it is digital, and we have a lot of technology. So far we developed so many methods, and then even maybe in future we may understand the mind completely in the coming future. But so far what we have and what can be observable is like behavior which is overt. In order to achieve these goals, the discipline of psychology for larger part of the 20th century restricted itself, like because we on the in the view of technology available and what is understood so far. So based on that, we psychologists decided that overt behavior, which is which can be observable, and scientific method can be applicable on the outside behavior. The behavior outside can be observed and measured. Okay, we limited not to deal with the focus on personal feelings, experiences, and meanings, etc. Because they will be little difficult. It is not like impossible. It is really difficult. Like it is like dealing with the like a brain. It is a physical part which we can say, but mind, it is like a complex matter which we cannot see, but we can only observe, and that observation is like overt behavior we take. Next to it is in recent years a different method known as interpretive is like interpretation has emerged. It emphasizes understanding over explanation and prediction. What does this interpretive method do is that it explains and predicts a behavior or the learning of the subject. You call subject, client, or the victim, whatever you name it. So it tries to explain and predict the behavior by observing some environmental conditions or the process. It takes the stand that in view of complex and variable nature of human behavior and experience, its method of investigation should be different from the method of investigation of the physical world. If you can see physics, it is like observing an object, like a pendulum clock, which is visible to us, the physical substances. Like you can take any object and you can measure its size, area, volume, and weight and length, breadth, or for an object there can be different type of calculations. But for behavior, what is a behavior and how it can be measured? So as he is saying, complex and variable in nature, it is not constant. A human being with the learning can change. So for this type of investigation, a naturalistic method has to be adopted. That is what interpretive method is done. And there will be some conditions. Let's see. The viewpoint emphasizes the importance of how human givings gives meaning to events. Like you see, there will be some labels and meanings. I think I have recalled in the, if we can recall the first session, Jihad, Mead, and particularly uh, cognitive psychologist Piaget has given that symbols, objects have some meanings. Like if you can see a danger symbol, like a skull, you may interpret it as a danger. You cannot move forward if you see that. And even like a red signal, you stop. A green signal, you proceed. An orange signal, you slow down. These are the types of meanings which give to some objects or event. Even when you are traveling in a traffic, when the red signal has happened, you stop. When the green signal, you proceed. These type of things, it is like interpretive. It is a natural process. When there is a flow of a behavior, you will try to understand the behavior. Okay, let us take the experience that may occur in some unique context, such as persons experiencing suffering due to external factors. As we are dealing with the external behavior, that is overt behavior, there can be conditions like as we are dealing with a pandemic situation, there is a like there is a condition in Lebanon. There is a situation happened where is a blast which is close to a nuclear bomb explosion. Like that, even there are naturalistic conditions like tsunamis, earthquakes, cyclones. We will be experiencing them in the coast of our state. These are all naturalistic factors which affects the human behavior. When these things happen, people suffer a lot. A huge number of populations will be affected. Like now the pandemic situation is affecting crores of people, but it is as a social problem, and even it's an individual problem. An individual also may affect, and some may take it as an opportunity, some may take it as an accept the change, some may not accept the change. And some people are very sensitive, some people are really bold and moving forward. And there will be some conditions for our human beings also, like if you are dealing with the cancer, tumor, and some lifetime conditions like even paralysis, uh, paralyzed situations. Like even if you can see uh, Stephen Hawking, the the physicist who examined black holes was the person who has suffered from a prolonged illness, but he chased it. He overcome with the technology, and he has a great will, self determination, which helped him to uh, lead the life. Okay, next. In such type of situations, it cannot be controlled. You cannot control the tsunami. You cannot you may take some preventive measures, but still, the natural disasters cannot be like the man may not completely have control over them. In the earlier session we tried to have control over the behavior, like we have selected the sample, we have uh, given the questionnaire. That is a method which we followed, but now it is completely objective and observable. You cannot take a particular population and conduct tsunami experiment, right? You cannot take a particular population and give tumor. Of course, you can study people with tumor and with people without tumor, like cancer patients and non-cancerous patients. All these things can be observed, but the conditions are natural, and it cannot be either possible or desirable. Some things, but everyone has in reality. They try to explain based on the past experiences and context. Like that is what, and this is like a naturalistic method. With the flow we will try to understand and depict behavior. Therefore, we need to understand the subjective interpretation of the reality. If one person who is affected by cancer, it is unique feeling, it is like unique behavior. He may take cancer as a fearful thing or a challenging thing. That depends completely on the subject, on the that is the person who is experiencing what. There can be different types of factors which can be involved, and so we, in a natural flow, we'll try to understand the behavior without any causing any disturbances. For example, an explorer does not know what he is going to looking for, how to look for it, and what to expect. In these type of tsunami, you cannot know after happening the incident only you can understand what has happened. You cannot know what will be going to happen, how it will be going, what is the impact of the situation, or what is the impact of the disease or the illness. All these things cannot be predicted earlier, but it has can be understood by after the happening of the incident. Even you can take another example like crime incident. When a crime happens, you cannot know, or when you are a participant of the crime, you may not know what will be going to happen. But and even during the internet, after happening the crime, only you will know what has happened in the crime. Okay, so this type of observation, this type of method is interpretation, like which is based on explanation and prediction what has happened. This is like naturalistic observation. What rather she or he tries to map an uncharted wilderness. If you can see, there will be these cues are unconnected. These are not connected. You will try to understand and give a meaning to what has happened. There can be with a little or no prior knowledge of the area. His or main task is to record the detailed description of what is found in the particular. Even we can take another example like classroom observation, like the observation of behavior of students in a classroom. In a live classroom, we may not know what will be happening. Some people will be participative, some people will not be participative, some people will be playing in the back benches. After completing recording, only you will predict the behavior what has happened. Okay, and in the another one, like moving forward, both scientific and interpretive traditions, like as I said, experimental, non-experimental, in the scientific method and this tradition, because as a human behavior, there can be lot of observable methods and lot of things can be adopted and considered with studying behavior and experiences of the behavior as a standard definition of the psychology. Like it is the study of behavior, experiences, and mental processes. We'll try to understand mental processes, what is happening in the human with the behavior and experience so far, what has he or she has gone through. What about our personal here? It is also, as we are psychologists and the students dealing with the psychology subject, you may also have like feelings like sadness, and you may decide to pledge, and like you may decide to study very well for the examinations, academic sessions, but still you fail, right? You may not be following because of the several conditions which will impact, like family conditions, environmental conditions. There can be festivals, there will be situations like pandemics, epidemics can be there, and sometimes we'll be having some low mood. Like it is not a one night process to change. It is not a like experiment to control the behavior and recharge you to do that. But as the natural conditions will have their own um, process of recovery. So it can be only be observed, recorded, and then we can understand what has gone and what can be predicted. Okay, you might be wondering why one does not have control over one behavior. Like, see, even if generally in counseling, we'll be dealing with the clients who have very simple problems, but which seem to be simple for us, but as we study the psychology and we understand the problems in a scientific way and have a good experience of that, but particular person who is dealing with the problem may not have the knowledge. Like as a psychologist, you may not have the knowledge of chemistry. You may have the basic knowledge as you have studied in the school, but you may not know that Avogadro formulas, the scientific research which in chemistry, what is going on. But as a subjective person, you will be dealing with psychology, but you may not know the other areas. Likewise, you have to be humanistic, and you have to have large patience, more patience to listen to the clients. They may have a lot of problems and which will be easier and difficult, with sometimes they will be challenging you, but still they are unique to that particular person. So, what is the aim of the behavior? So, the psychological inquiry does aim at understanding the self by reflecting on one's own experiences and insights. So, you will try to understand from the persons who is experiencing the problem or the condition, and tries to understand what has gone through, and try to understand what can be the best solution from his point of view, like making him challenge and overcome the situation. It is not you to deal the problem, it is the person who is suffering with the problem has to deal the situation. Like so far we understand the scientific and interpretive method. This interpretive method will be explanatory and predictive, even though they are part of scientific research in the discussed in the earlier session. You will be there is some methods, there will be, like we will try to get them in the coming sessions. Okay, so that's all for today. So we just recalled with an example and discussed the topic alternative paradigms of scientific inquiry. And if you have any queries, please write to us. We can discuss them. The more we discuss, we can get knowledge, and the more experience we can try to understand psychology in a scientific way. Okay, that so that's all for today. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.